So, you think custom built PCs are only for overclockers and enthusiasts and gamers? You are sorely mistaken. So I was contacted by Ben from Action Consulting, and what they do is they set up big networks and manage servers for other companies. And he contacted me to build him 2 workstations. And so he had a pretty tight budget because with them just being basic workstations, why would you need to spend a good chunk of change on that? So he was looking at Best Buy, and he was probably going to end up roughly about $2,200 to $2,500 for 2 computers for the specs that he was needing, which is a good multi-threaded CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, at least 500 gig SSDs on this for, snappy, good, quick performance. So I was able to quote him about $1,000 under that, and I got him these 2 builds that you just saw the B-roll of. They consist of Fractal Defined C Minis, which are amazing cases. I have nothing but good things to say about those, and we'll get into that in a minute. I used some, I believe it was Team Group RAM, which is pretty good. It's 3000 megahertz, dual channel, 8 gig sticks with a 16 gig total. I used the always tried and true, reliable, cost-effective MX500 M.2 SSDs, 500 gigs. And always the best go-to workstation processor, best bang for the buck, the Ryzen 2600. And both of these will mark build number 4 using the Ryzen 2600 for its price point and how well it performs. It's just so hard to beat. So I put those in there, and then I used the Arctic Xtreme air cooler for the CPU, and this thing was huge. It was a very, very big air cooler, allowing these CPUs to run at 100% utilization silently, not passing 65C, and for an air cooler that is outstanding. So he ended up getting 2 computers that run silent. I mean silent. Even when you put a load on these and you stress them out and the fans ramp up, you cannot hear anything when it is dead silent in the room and you're sitting right next to it. These are the most quiet computers I've ever built, and that was unintentional. I was just trying to keep things cool and performing well. And I guess just the parts combination that I chose ended up being completely silent. So the Defined C Mini is an outstanding case to build in. Cable management is so great. The only issue I had was installing the standoffs. A couple of the holes meant for the standoffs weren't threaded properly, like they weren't tapped into the metal. So I had to use SSD screws and forces in there to kind of get it threaded, and then I could install the standoff. So Fractal, if you guys could just make sure you run the tap all the way through the sheet metal, that would be great. It would save me a lot of stress. But that was the only issue I had with this case. Everything else was seamless, 0 issues, just so easy to build in. Granted, I didn't have hard drives or very many cables, no RGB hubs, or anything to that effect. But these cases are small, they're aesthetic, they're efficient, they are pretty much anything I would ever need out of a micro ATX or mini ITX build. I highly, highly recommend these. And despite the front panel looking like it's really closed off, airflow is actually pretty good. I had only 2 120s in the front, which I think is all it holds. And there were absolutely no temperature issues. So good on Fractal for that. So yeah, you can get amazing performance and save a good chunk of change going with a custom computer, because, like I always say, don't pay for what you don't need. With pre-builts, if you want a good hexa-core processor, then you're going to end up getting something with probably, an SSD and 32 gigs of RAM and all this other stuff you don't need. Everything kind of, all the hardware in these computers kind of scale parallel. It's like if you get more RAM, then you also get a bigger, faster SSD and a nicer processor, which sometimes you're going to end up paying for components that you don't need in there. So if you build a computer around its use case scenario and you select parts that will benefit your build, but you're not buying extra things that are costing you money that you're not going to use, then you're going to save a good amount of money. and you're going to get something that's set up properly. You're going to get good cable management and great temperatures, and you're not going to have any problems, at least not for me. So yeah, if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. Please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future content, and hit the bell icon so you know when we post content. Thanks for hanging out and checking out the video, and we will see you at the next one.